In ancient Chinese strategy, there is a concept called Xing. It means shapes or patterns. Sun Tzu's fourth chapter, The Scroll of Observing Patterns, isn't about reacting to a crisis after it explodes. It's about watching a situation as it takes shape, reading the minor signals, and predicting the outcome before a single shot is fired. Sun Tzu argued that a true master wins before the battle even begins. If you only see victory when it's obvious to everyone else, that's not true excellence. As he put it, to see the sun and moon is no sign of sharp sight. To hear the thunder is no sign of a quick ear. To understand how this ancient text maps onto modern warfare, we have to look at the opening chapters of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Sun Tzu's first core principle is simple. You control your own defense, but the enemy gives you the opportunity for victory. Look at Ukraine in the months leading up to February 2022. While Russia built up massive forces on the borders, Ukraine quietly focused on making themselves impossible to defeat. They decentralized their command structure, dispersed their air defense assets away from known bases, and hardened their own cyber networks. They couldn't force Russia to make a mistake, but they ensured that when the blow landed, Ukraine wouldn't shatter. On the flip side, Russia assumed a swift, 3-day collapse of Kiev. By rushing in with stretched supply lines and exposed flanks, Russia provided the very opportunity for defeat Sun Tzu wrote about. The second area Sun Tzu examines is a moral alignment of a leader and strict military discipline. A clever fighter wins by making no mistakes, and mistakes happen when an army lacks alignment. In 2022, we saw a stark contrast in moral alignment. Russian troops were frequently kept in the dark about operational objectives until the last minute, leading to severe logistical chaos, abandoned vehicles, and low morale. Meanwhile, Ukraine's defense relied heavily on widespread civic alignment and disciplined, localized territorial defense forces. They knew exactly what they were fighting for. True defense power, according to Sun Tzu, hides in the most secret recesses of the earth. It is deep, rooted, and resilient. When a victorious strategist moves, it is like a single, powerful stroke. If you look at the successful Ukrainian counteroffensives in Kharkiv and Kherson later in 2022, they didn't just happen on a whim. They were the result of months of shaping the battlefield, cutting off Russian bridges, destroying ammunition dumps with precision artillery, and feeding the enemy false patterns to mislead them. They forced the enemy into a vulnerable shape, and only then did they strike. Sun Tzu concludes with a line that perfectly encapsulates the shift in the war's early horizon. The victorious strategist only seeks battle after the victory has been won, whereas he who is destined for defeat first fights and afterwards looks for victory. When you learn to read the patterns, war stops looking like a series of random clashes. It becomes a mathematical inevitability based on preparation, discipline, and the patience to let the enemy trip over their own hubris. So, what is the ultimate lesson of the scroll of observing patterns? It is that victory is rarely decided by the loudest explosion or the biggest army on paper. It is decided by who reads the quiet shifts in reality first. When Russia launched its invasion, it relied on a rigid, top-down plan, a pattern built on flawed assumptions. Ukraine, by contrast, embodied Sun Tzu's definition of a skilled defender. They made themselves uncrushable, waited for the enemy to overextend, and struck only when the patterns of the battlefield shifted in their favor. If you take away just 3 things from Sun Tzu's 4th chapter, let them be these. First, you own your defense. You can't force your opponent to lose, but you can absolutely ensure that you are impossible to beat. Second, alignment dictates execution. An army without a clear moral purpose or tight internal discipline will always tear itself apart from the inside out. And finally, master the invisible. The fleshiest victories aren't the ones achieved through brutal, chaotic fighting. The hardest form of strategy is putting yourself in a position where the battle is already won before the first blow lands. In war and in life, stop looking at the thunder. Start looking for the subtle shifts that happen right before the storm breaks.